Welcome to the Spirit of a Badass, where we celebrate stories of courage, hope, and resiliency. I'm your host, Alecia Jacobson.
What's up, badasses? Today, I feel like I have the ultimate badass on the show, and I'm really excited for you to hear her story and to kind of get to know her on a deep level, because I think she has some pieces of her that I see on social media that I'm like, yes, you are out there sharing pieces that most people keep to themselves. And I think there's such a gift in that to other people. So please welcome my guest, Megan Clark. She is a widowed mom of 3 and owner of Toot and Kate's Wine Bar in Verona. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. I'm so glad I made it. You know, this is difficult for me.
We had some tech issues, and I am not a tech person.
It's me.
Well, I think I have some ownership in this, but I'm also not a tech person. So I'm like texting my producer, like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here.
An effort. Now I'm super comfortable.
Oh, yes. This is very much. I actually, the one that came out this week was, I think there was probably like 30 fucks dropped the entire, it was all about that. So yes, you are free to speak here. So there's been so many things rolling through my head coming up to talking to you today. And I think first, you don't remember it, and this makes me sound stalkerish, but my first encounter with you was at like a Verona City Commission meeting, because we opened our businesses within months of each other, and you were there and you had to answer some questions, and it was you and your sister. And I just remember feeling something when I saw you both, and I can't even put my finger on what it is, but I'm just like, I was wishing you so well. Like there is an energy about you. There is just a really wonderful presence that you have. And this was like, I had no idea who the hell you were at the time. You were just opening a business. But
we didn't know what the hell we were doing, so it worked.
Do any of us? But like just seeing 2 women there, like we're doing this. And it felt good for me, especially being there. I was just there by myself. I didn't have to speak or anything, but it felt empowering to me to see the pair of you there. And I know that you started this journey, but I don't really know much about you. And I feel like there's probably this kind of before and after in your story.
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, first tell us your story. But one thing I'm wondering is, I feel like you have such a strong sense maybe of who you are, and you have this like conviction about you that comes across in your writings and in just, it's like the essence of you. And I'm wondering if that's always been who you were, or if you sort of grew into that. But other people might not know who you are. So just tell us your story and then go there.
Well, you're right. I have no recollection of that meeting. I was probably still in shock at that point. So I guess backing up, I think I've always been this person. It's easier for me to write than it probably is to talk about it. But I'm almost 10 years out from losing my husband unexpectedly overnight. It was the most traumatic thing that has ever happened to me and my children. And I hope it will be the most traumatic thing that ever happens to us, because I oftentimes wonder how we survived. So my husband, Carrie, passed away January 9th, 2015, literally overnight. We found him, my daughter found him, slumped over on his yoga mat, was getting up and doing yoga before work, which he had been doing for months. In fact, the night before he died, he said to me, "Look how much yoga is working. I can touch my toes better now," because he had a terrible knee injury, blew out his knee twice playing football, both in high school and in college. So he had chronic pain. And unbeknownst to me, he was suffering from opioid addiction. And he died from a mixed drug intoxication. You know, there's not too much about this story that I'm unwilling to share, but I also am very careful to not put my feelings in on it over what he was experiencing, because I don't know. You know what I mean? Like we had 3 young kids. We were living on one income. He was getting up every day and going to work. He was a wonderful husband and father, and he had pain. He was going to the doctor every month. He was trying alternative treatments. It's not what you think addiction looks like. And it can happen like that. Like literally. I think he had probably been struggling looking back, and after I got his medical records, it kind of confirms for years, decades. And what happened that day was my daughter found him, which is something that will haunt me till the day I die. And I went down. In fact, this is a true story. Before she went down and found him, she came up. She said, "Mom, I can't wake up Daddy." I said, "I'm sure he's just tired. Don't worry about it. He probably got up and shoveled because we had a snowstorm." She went back down, which kills me. Came back up and said, "Mom, I can't wake him up. And there's a little puke in front of him." And I'm not kidding, Alecia. I felt a rush of white go over my body from my head to my toe. I knew he was dead. I ran downstairs, saw him, started screaming, tried to resuscitate him, call 911. By this point, my boys are awake, so all three of them are watching this. It was the worst thing in the world. You can't put it into words. And putting your hands on someone you love, knowing that they're gone, but still so panicked, and feeling his empty chest, it felt hollow. It was like my life was over. And once we called, obviously 911 was on the way. He was a cop. His uniform was hanging up because he was getting ready to go to work. They come in, they get me out of the way. Everyone's freaking out. I go upstairs. I wash my face. They were waiting to take us to the ER. And I literally said this. I looked in the mirror and I was like, "Your life's over. That's it. Your life's over." And of course it wasn't, but it was such a shift in who I was and what I now was living that I can't even put it into words what it does to a person. And obviously the story unfolds from there. You know, they pronounced him dead at the hospital. We were disastrous for weeks and months and years. And it all led me to where I am now, of course. But getting back to your original question, when you said, "Have you always been this way?" I saw something online recently that Katie Ripp shared, which I know you know Katie. She shared this reel and it said, "You'll never meet someone who's gone through something traumatic and tragic that's looking for deeper meaning in their life." And that's true. My life was laid out for me when he died. He had set the foundation. He was a wonderful man. He was a wonderful father. And now it was my turn. I had to take care of our kids first and foremost. That was it. And so much of his death and everything that surrounded it, it presented a clear path for me in terms of everything else was noise, was fluff. All I had to do was take care of these kids. All we had to do was survive. And in the beginning, you don't know how you're going to survive. It was so clear and singular for me. Just had to keep going. That's it. That's a heavy start. Sorry. Big, heavy start.
I mean, but that is it. It's like
That's how
almost
it
like
started.
a rebirth of you also. That's interesting. It sounds almost like those images of like a street light and you just see where the light is at. That's what, when you say that, it's it's like beams out from you.
And that's kind of how the shop started too. But it does, your whole world is stripped of everything you knew. Like when I say emptiness and soul crushing, I mean, my friends from that time will say it was like I wasn't there. I was almost a zombie, and I knew what I had to do, which was take care of our kids, but nothing else matters. And so you do get that full steam ahead in terms of just survival, and then you build on that. But it has to start from literally ground zero.
Yeah. It almost sounds like what an adrenaline would do, where there's no other options and choices, that you just have to head down, go forward. I mean, because as a mom, you literally have no other choice. Like you have to do these things because you have these little beings counting on you. How old were your kids then?
Yeah, they were 9, 7, and 4
Just babies.
babies.
And now, I mean, it's been fun.
Yeah, they're the best. They're the most resilient, strong, independent, just best things that ever happened to me, and the timing of this podcast is interesting because you're getting me a little bit more emotional than I typically am. On Sunday, my son Jack, who's 16, was cleaning out the basement to create a little workout area. And he's like, I found Dad's old phone. And we all just were like, oh my gosh, like, what are we going to do? Now, I knew it wasn't his phone when he died. He had cleared it and given it to Jack because him and Mal were into making little Shopkins videos or Beanie Boos or, they were kids. They would do stuff in the playroom. It was adorable. So we turned it on and we saw all these videos and I heard his voice and I heard my voice and mainly I heard their little voices, which broke me down. But there was 2 pictures that I didn't know Jack took. And it was the day he died and it was in the back of the car. And especially my son, Sam, who was 4 at that time, he was looking like, I guess he knew Jack was taking the picture, but he kind of side-eyed him and you could see the wintry background in the back and his lips were pursed and he was just, looks like he was trying to hold it together. And the fear and sadness and shock that I can see on both their faces, but especially Sam, I took one look at it and I just started bawling. And Jack, who doesn't let his emotions out very much, just sat on the couch and just bawled with me because you don't realize how little they were and how hard it was until you get away from it. And then you see these images that you didn't know existed. And it's just like, how did this happen to us? How is this our life? So almost being 10 years out and having those moments it speaks to what grief is. And also on that reel that I was mentioning earlier about deeper meaning, there was a remark about the greatest mind cannot speak to a bleeding heart. And there is nothing I've ever heard that is more true. It doesn't matter what people said to me then. It doesn't matter what people say to me now. There are no words. It's deeper than that. And those pictures showed that and our reactions to it. It's going to be like that forever, I think. Sorry.
Please don't apologize. How that is something. And I have something in the works on grief and on people who have experienced tremendous grief, because you have these people around you and we're not taught as humans how to talk about grief. We're not taught how to handle grief. It's like this thing where it makes us so uncomfortable. We kind of just want to either like try to fix it to make us feel better or run from it. Can you speak to any of that on, how to hold space for somebody? Because you said there are no words, and that's really true. And I think that's where people get tripped up, is they try to use words, and a lot of times they're very unhelpful and kind of almost even have the opposite impact on the person who is experiencing that overwhelming grief.
Yeah, I have friends, obviously, because you make friends in this community that have lost spouses, whether that be a long drawn out battle with cancer or a car accident. Mine was very sudden, but death is death and everyone grieves. I think for me, because so much shock was involved, that having people just be with me with zero expectations for me to talk or give anything back was huge. And I was blessed with friends and family that obviously did that. But what I'll say is it doesn't mean that your words don't help, but they can't fix. There is no fixing. And so you just have to follow the grieving person's lead, let them know you love them and you're there for them, and let them know that you realize the only way to get beyond this is to go through it. And that is the biggest thing with grief. I never took anything not that there's anything wrong with that, but given the nature of Carrie's death, I never took anything to numb the pain. I felt every bit of it And I still do. And I think that's the biggest thing. As someone is grieving and going through these steps, you just have to realize that it's not a linear path. There's going to be ups and downs. And hopefully you're surrounded by loved ones that will ride those waves with you. Because in the beginning, I wanted to hit fast forward. I wanted out of this. Please, God, let me get out of this. And I remember writing in my journal, like, I can't wait till February comes because then I won't be able to think like my husband died this month. Like just basic fundamental stuff that you don't understand that like blankets you in sadness. And as you're grieving, for me and some of the flashbacks and the trauma of it all, I had to just get through seconds. But before you know it, seconds become minutes and minutes become days and days become weeks and weeks become months. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, I'm here. I'm living. I'm doing it. We're surviving. And so breaking it down into small increments and continuing to just keep going, even though in the process of keep going, there's lots of pitfalls. There's lots of bawling on the kitchen floor, burying my head in laundry in the laundry room with huge sobs so the kids wouldn't hear, crying in the garage, all those things people don't see. You're still moving forward. And that's the biggest thing for somebody that's grieving. Let them be however they need to be. Hopefully see them and help them keep moving forward.
This is where the words, because I want to say how, but I know that is a terrible kind of question, is how did you do that? More so when I talked about earlier, that sort of like essence within you that you have, what bits of that, like what was it deep inside of you that kept you moving forward?
My kids, 100%. My faith. I leaned on my priest a lot. I'll never forget one time when I went to catechism sign up for the kids. That was something Carrie always took care of. Let it be known, Carrie took care of most things. He was a better parent than I was. And so now a lot of times I'm like, I'm doing my part. I'm more than doing my part now because, he was a great man. And I think when he died, my family was like, oh shit, how is she going to do this on her own? Because he took care of so much. And I often say I'm the best wife and mom and, keeper of the house and all those things now that I wish he had experienced. Because, you have to be what you are when there's no other choice. And so I can't say there's one thing. It really is just the love of my kids, the belief that he's still with me and seeing all this. The catechism drop-off story, like I was starting, was I signed them up and I just broke down at the church office. And I just I can't do this. I can't do this. It's not supposed to be this way. I can't do this. And I had plenty of those moments. I mean, the blessing and the curse about me is I wear my heart on my sleeve. So sometimes that's good and sometimes it's not so good. And I just broke down and the lady was just like, it's okay. And, God sees you and God has a plan. And I feel like I'm spiritual and believe in a higher power for sure. But it's hard in those moments to think this is part of the plan. But her words comforted me and it made me feel like, okay, I can do this. I can keep going another day. And like I said, when you have that attitude, whatever it is, if it's a stranger, if it's a phone call, if it's a sunny day, whatever it is that keeps you moving one day forward, progresses you. And that I'm just thankful that I was able to see those things, to feel those things. And I tell people this a lot. I do believe the human spirit is designed to rebuild itself. And ours did.
What does that mean?
That you can experience the most earth-shattering things in life. But if you can still find positives and gratitude and something to keep you moving forward, you can do it. And there is always goodness in the world. There is always goodness in situations. And thankfully, I saw that. It's not going to be there at the epicenter. The people, the things that surround you, the loved ones, the friends, the kids you have to take care of. All these things just inch you forward if you let them, if you're present, if you feel the emotions. And I did. And when I was a screaming, crying mess, my people let me be that. And to this day, one of my greatest accomplishments in life will be every single day since he died, I got up and I took care of my kids. Every day, I opened the blinds and I appreciated a new day. And I'm proud of that.
That sounds so simple. And also, that has to be such a difficult thing to do. I mean, it just when you think of I'm opening the blinds and appreciating a new day, but when you are in that space, that has, I mean, I feel almost like just such a heaviness of walking up and opening them, because that has to be such a difficult task to do in that moment of doing that every single day.
There is no words how heavy it was. I did it, and thank God I did it, and thank God I was allowed to do it. I don't know how either. You would be surprised when things come up now, because they still do, where I'm just like, how did I get here? How did we survive this? And somehow we did. And that's why I mean that the human spirit does have these capabilities if you keep pushing forward. And as much as I feel and let that out, and my kids are pretty good about it too, my daughter is probably better than my boys, there's also a little bit of a machine type quality about me that probably isn't the best. I'm working on that right now. I just kind of full steam ahead, plow through. And some of that I think I've had to do because I've been on my own with 3 kids and I've started a business, and that's just the reality of life. But at some point I need to stop and just, it's not that I haven't absorbed everything, but I need to slow down a little bit, I think.
Are you doing that?
I'm trying. You know, I don't take any medication. So exercise is my therapy. So I do push hard there. I have a very forward thinking mentality. And sometimes I wonder if that's just because I forgot how to relax and just take a load off. I'm not great at that. I'm not good at just laying on the couch for a day. That just doesn't happen.
Were you good at that before?
Oh, hell yes. I would say, are you kidding me? Carrie's probably like ready to just come down and wring my neck. Yes. I used to sit on the couch for freaking hours snuggling with my littlest Sam, because I knew he was our last baby, and we just take turns smelling his blankie. Nothing made me happier. So I definitely have switched. I mean, I would never consider myself a lazy person or unmotivated, but I had no problem snuggling with Whammy and Carrie making supper. So I definitely soaked up our bubble. That's one thing I'm always grateful of. I never had social media. I had a fucking flip phone. Like I didn't do any of this stuff. This is probably why I struggle doing this today. But we really were just present in our lives with our young kids. And it was a blessing now because it was such a short time.
Those things where it's like, you looking back, that you didn't have, like, you weren't checked out. You didn't have, the doom scrolling or anything like that.
No.
You were right there. And yeah, that is such a gift.
That's part of the plan stuff that does make you feel like, gosh, I was so just immersed in my family, and I wasn't even aware. I didn't get a smartphone. He died January 2015. I didn't get a smartphone until probably 6 or 8 months after he died, when I was coming out of the fog. Then when we started the shop about a year later, I got social media because my sister said I had to. I mean, I wasn't on for any of it. And maybe that's how I could stay focused too. You know what I mean? Because now I feel like we waste so much time on that shit.
And seriously, those are the things that you have no idea until you look back and you see, oh, that was a gift designed for me and for my memories and my family and my kids and all of those things.
Yep.
You do an excellent job at social media, though.
Thank you.
Excellent for somebody who was not on it.
Somebody asked me, who's the shop social media manager? I'm like, what? That exists? No, it's me. And I post whatever I feel in the moment at the time, just as much as I'll be stocking wine or taking out garbage. Like, it doesn't work. We're a small business. We don't have a social media manager. It's so funny.
Well, you're good at it. People can, through what you share, like I feel one, like I know you, and I feel like I see you. Like I like, it's weird, but you do such an excellent job showing that, and not just the pretty pieces, the
No.
stuff where it's like, yeah. And I think that's such a gift that you're giving people permission to, hey, you don't have to show up and just show the pretty parts. Like, let's be real.
Well, I appreciate that. I try not to overthink it. That's the other thing. When you go through something, what we did, half the shit people worry about is meaningless, more than half. And that's been the greatest gift that I think I got. And my friends that are widows too, there's this period of time where you just have such freedom and such clear focus, and all the crap people get bogged down by, it's like you're wasting it, you're missing it. That's not what it's about. And I would love for everyone to have that perspective without having their world implode. But it's almost not possible.
So I have a question about this. Is that something that is that just in like innate part of you now, or is that something that you have to work at? Or just share a little bit about that, because that is something that I think a lot of people don't have an understanding of, that it even exists out there. But then I am curious, like after 10 years, how does that show up for you?
I think you lose a little bit of it. There was probably in that 2 to 3 year period, which I wasn't fully healed. I don't know if I'm fully healed now, but you do have, like I said, this freedom that it's just like, oh my gosh, like I just want to soak up life because I see how quickly it can go. I still have that, but I have to work harder at reminding myself the small shit doesn't matter. So your human beingness sneaks back in, and the things like that you worry about or get stressed out about, you have to remind yourself this isn't big picture stuff. And so I do work on that, but I think I have a base that you can only get when you go through something awful. So it doesn't take me that long to like snap back in and be like, this is meaningless shit. And I'm pretty good at it. I don't overthink everything I do. I don't worry about stuff I think a lot of other people worry about, but I have my own stuff too. I mean, I know for a fact when it comes to like my loved ones, there's a little PTSD where I don't want something bad to happen again. So that's the downside of the freedom, right? But overall in my daily life, I feel pretty balanced and happy. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. So tell us a little about your happy. Well, when it came to opening the shop, how did that come? Because that was not something was that something that you had already thought about ever, or where was that born?
So in 2013, we hosted a bridal shower for Katie, my sister, who I opened this up with, at a place called Ruby Tap in Wauwatosa. And I remember coming home because it was this concept. I came home and I told Carrie, I'm like, this would be a gold mine in Madison. And he's like, well, let's do it, babe. And I was like, oh, sure. 3 kids, no money, 1 income. I mean, he's probably just like, okay, whatever. Are you putting the kids in the bath? Just a bullshit conversation. But I had talked to him about it. And so it always felt good that it actually happened, because after he died, I was rough for months and months and months, but I was also driven. And so I sold our house. I moved to Verona. He's buried in Verona. I did all this in 6 months. I think people thought I was probably losing my mind, but I was very clear on what I needed to do. Selling the house was a big one that people were like, don't make rush decisions, but I knew for a fact we had to go. It wasn't what happened there. It was that I couldn't live there without him anymore. So we moved. About 9 months later, I was coming out of the fog a little bit. And I said to my sister, I'm like, I think we should do the wine bar. I need something. And they were like, so happy that I was actually having something beyond the kids and my grief. I'm like, okay, too, whatever you want to do. And especially my brother-in-law, he's just a wild one, and he's up for anything all the time. And so we're like, oh shit, like I'm a widow with 3 kids living off Social Security. I do not have a job at the moment. I actually had an interview before Carrie died for going back to work, and I'll never forget someone answering the phone when they called to schedule it, and they're like, there's been a family tragedy. She won't be there. And so there's another part of my life that's just like, okay, gone. So again, I'm without a job, 3 kids, just moved, thinking, are we going to open this business? What if it doesn't work? I'm going to have to move back home with my parents. And I really didn't give a damn. I wasn't afraid of anything. That's another beautiful gift. Your fear of shit is gone because I've seen the worst. And so I told them, let's do it. They were completely on board. We didn't think we had a shot in hell in getting a loan. We did. And this is another one of those moments where you talked about the street light. I had picked Sam up from preschool. We were going to visit Dad. It was a Friday. I had looked at places around Verona. I was like, oh gosh, I'm at the stoplight. I had looked at the place I'm currently at. I was at the stoplight, and I was like, babe, I don't know if I should do this. What if it fails? What if it fails? We're screwed then. Like, and Carrie and I were best friends. We bounced everything off each other. I was like, let me know if I should do this. I don't know. Like, give me a sign. I'm not kidding, Alecia. I had been to this place a few different times, never noticed that there was a suite number on the bricks on the outside. And as I asked for that sign, my eyes were like saucers to that number. Nothing else was in the field of my vision, like nothing else. And the number's 109, and he died January 9th. And that was it. I called, I started crying. I'm like, it's going to work. It's going to work. And I called them, and my sister probably thought I was having a breakdown. My brother-in-law's like, hell yeah, Toot, let's go. So it was like the perfect response of like, screw it, we're doing it. And if it fails, we've been through worse. And we never looked back from that point, ever.
Oh my goodness. That is so I'm like in tears here and laughing, like, like all the feels are coming out of me at this moment. Damn.
Crazy.
I've,
right?
I've seen you post about that before. Thank you for sharing that story, because I didn't have I knew that, but I thought that was more of an intentional type thing. But
yeah, no clue. And so that's part of it too, where it's like, Carrie and I were together 16 years. That stuff doesn't go away. And I believe in signs, and I feel his presence, and almost every birthday, there's a brief rain shower and a rainbow for me and my kids, almost every single one. And so it's stuff like that where I feel like if you're open to it, it finds you. And I feel that's what happened with the wine bar too.
What is it like to be happy again? Because that seems in certain situations and certain things, like, what is it like to find that joy? You seem like a joyful person. You opened up the windows. You are the glimmers they talk about, these finding the glimmers. It almost like they anchor you, like a person that like they're going with those like pickaxes. It's like, that's your thing. And I'm going to hang on to that. It's going to pull me forward. How do you experience that over your journey?
That's a great question. I mean, the pickaxe reference is very true. It's little things along the way, which, as you know, in life, the little things are the big things. I just feel like I was blessed probably from birth of being a person that looks on the bright side. Credit my parents, my siblings, my friends and family. I don't know. I thank God all the time that I don't have a spirit that stays down long, because I know the depths that people can get into. And I have had those moments. I mean, just even finding the phone last weekend, I was a wreck for 24 to 36 hours, just so sad and mad. And it's not like those things don't happen, but that's what life is supposed to be. You're not supposed to be happy all the time. You're not supposed to feel great all the time. And if you have that perspective, then you handle the ups and downs and know that basically everything's temporary. when things are great and I want to soak them up and I just don't want anything to change, I know it's not going to last forever. And so then, like I tell the kids, bad times aren't going to last forever either. If you're sick, if you're sad, if you're hurt, if you're going through a breakup, it's all temporary. You just have to keep going forward. And that's the beauty of life. I don't think we're all supposed to feel 100% and happy all the time. That's not what it's about. It's about the experiences. And when you lose someone you love, it's supposed to hurt forever. And it will. And that's okay. And I'm just grateful that I can absorb that and hopefully show my kids that too.
Yeah. That the idea of things being temporary, that's a huge thing to live.
Yeah.
Because I just remember when you have your kids for the first time, and probably just the first kid, because probably by the second you've realized it. But you know, they have where they're sleeping really well.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, I've nailed it. Yes. And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, no. Nope. I am now never sleeping again.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, everything. And that just expands to all things, because everything is always changing.
100%.
And having that perspective is such a freeing perspective, because you're not holding on to where you are. It's like you said, always inching forward. You allow yourself to grow forward.
I totally agree, because it's like I said, I wanted to hit fast forward a lot in this journey, still do at times, and you can't. And so that's the beauty of time, right? It will keep going regardless if you're ready or not. And if you just feel what you need to feel and continue to inch forward, time will move you there. It doesn't heal, it softens. Things get less harsh. And that's part of riding the wave of life, good and bad. Because when it's great, you want to freeze time, and you can't do that either. So
just love your perspective, who you are. And like you said, I think I was born with this, and, you know, I was taught this. The container that you were born with has really served you well, because like you said, sometimes people, no matter what their life situation, get so buried in whether it's grief or, you know, just other parts of life that it doesn't feel temporary, and they lose the ability to see. Is temporariness a word? I don't know if that's a word, but you get the idea.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because it's like, it's not just the perspective, but it's also the empathy and the heart you have to have for people. You know, there was a time after Carrie died, probably in the first 2 weeks. So he was going to the doctor regularly. I had messaged his doctor, and she called me and she was like, I missed it. And I was like, you can't tell me this. You can't tell me this. I will never forget it. I was in our bedroom upstairs, and the 3 kids were downstairs, and I was like, what? And I felt hurt in her voice, because she only knew what she knew too. You know, he was taking other stuff that wasn't prescribed, and he had chronic pain, and his knee was swollen to a volleyball most nights, and they wouldn't do a knee replacement because in that day and age he was too young, and now they do it in a heartbeat. You know, it's in that moment when she was like, I didn't know, Megan. And there was part of me that was just like, fuck, you're supposed to figure this out. I don't know. I'm trying to get through the day with 3 young kids. I don't know. I don't know what drug addiction looks like. Doesn't people at work know what it looks like? Don't you know what it looks like? What is happening? I don't know. And when she just owned that she didn't figure it out, like the rest of us didn't figure it out, because I don't even think he knew how deep he was in. He was doing all the things that normal people do, and probably struggling off and on for years. The empathy I felt for her, that it was such a, like this, because I was mad. I was mad that she was telling me this, but I was also like, she's a human being. Just because she's a doctor, she's not all knowing. She did the best she could by him, just like the rest of us. And so that sort of empathetic nature, where you give people the benefit of the doubt and you try to see the good in situations, really does mean a lot. And it really does shift your focus and your outlook and perspective on life, because we're all just doing the best we can. That's it.
It almost sounds healing too, to see the humanness in people.
100%. I mean, I remember talking to my priest, and I was just like, I don't know how this happened. I don't know. What did we, was it too much? I should have done more. I should have figured it out, all this stuff. And he's like, listen, you know that Carrie loved you and your kids. You know, he loved God, and you know that we are designed to be fragile beings, and it's okay. And sometimes bad things happen to good people. You know, if you look at Carrie's story, he's not going to fit the image of what you have of someone who's struggling with substance. And it wasn't what you would think. It wasn't problems daily. It was normal life. And then an accident happens. And I think the nature of everything we've gone through has really allowed me to realize how precious life is, how fragile we are as human beings, to appreciate every day, keep moving forward, and just do your best, you know? That's it. It's we overcomplicate so many things, and it's really not that complicated.
It's really not that complicated.
It's not.
Yes. No. And the amount of energy and life wasted on overcomplicating and just kind of that ick.
Yeah.
That ick that people kind of, they just swim in it and not even intentionally. They don't even know that they're doing it. And they're stuck in it. And back to what you said earlier of, you know, going through this has given you this different perspective of what is truly, truly important and how this shit just doesn't matter. And yeah, I want people to, I wish that there was a way to have that, bottle that up and have people have this understanding. And I hope that by people listening to your story, I hope that they can find their own kind of inching forward, because when people share, and it doesn't have to be, I mean, you don't have to have tragic things, like just doing life.
Yep.
Like if you can do this and inch forward every single day, like you don't have to have tragedy happen and just to do that. Like you absolutely have the ability to see the glimmers in life and to get up and open the drapes and appreciate.
It's so true. It's little small moves every single day that add up to big things. And all of a sudden you're on the other side and you're happier for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing you. I wish I could explain it better, how I see you. It's like almost like your spirit is what's being shown. It's just this, I can't even explain it. There's just this essence about you that it's like a gift. You are a gift to the world, and how you show up is just, you touch people in a way that I don't even know if you know that, but you shed a light. You are that light.
Oh, you're
for
gonna
other
make me
people.
cry again. Thank you. That's so nice.
It's not even for these big things. I think for small ways, I think people see you and you really are gifting the world. So thank you on behalf of all of the people that know you. Thank you. I'm sure you hear this. You have to hear this, because I can't imagine that I can't be the only one over here like, oh, I just love you. And you just seem like such a gift to people. I imagine that other people have to say this to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed with the best people around. There's no doubt about it. I wouldn't have made it this far if I wasn't. That's for damn sure. But I so appreciate your words, and thank you for having me on. I'm not very good at this stuff, but you have made it so easy and enjoyable.
Oh, good. I'm glad. All right, Megan, thank you so much.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Stop in for a drink. It's on me.
Spirit of a Badass is a Lit Path Studios podcast and is produced by Jamie Gale and Alecia Jacobson. Music by Shane Ivers. We'll be back with another inspiring interview. Until then, keep your spirits high and your energy badass.